Shalom Aleichem, dear brothers and sisters. I'm making this video in a response to a debate I saw between Hamza and David. Hamza being a Muslim, David, I'm not sure, I think he's a Christian, but I'm not sure. So the question posed was like this. David was claiming that the two attributes of God in the Quran, which are that He is all-sufficient and that He is merciful, these two attributes cannot coexist simultaneously. And the proof that he was using is that God cannot be merciful before the creation. I mean, since there is no creation, no humans to be merciful to, therefore God cannot be merciful at that time. Hence, that He is not all-sufficient, because in order for Him to be merciful, He needs the creation to be merciful to, and therefore He's not all-sufficient, because He's dependent on that creation. So that was David's claim, and Hamza was trying to answer, and they were kind of going back and forth, and I think there's a kind of an easier way to answer. Now, don't get me wrong, because Hamza was in the middle of debate, and obviously it's not that easy to come up with a solution right away, and it's easy for me to watch it and then think about it and then kind of try to come up with a solution. So just keep that in mind, that I think he still did a very good job, but I think that this is what can be said about this topic. So the fact that God made the creation, it means that He had the ability to create, right? So the fact that God created is what gives Him the ability of being all-sufficient, and this does not contradict being all-merciful. Why? Because if God, let's say, was the type of a God that cannot create, right, then you can make such a claim that He's not all-sufficient, because He needs the creation to be merciful too. But since without the creation He cannot be all-merciful, and therefore, but since God can create, so therefore He is all-sufficient. He is able to create and be merciful to that creation. The fact that He can put Himself into the situation where He can be merciful is already being all-sufficient. God is able to put Himself into this situation. And that's one point. And second point I want to make is that I'm not sure if David was a Christian or not, but in fact, as a Jew, I can say that these attributes do exist in the Torah when it comes to God. I'm not sure if you read it in Hebrew for sure they are. Maybe in the translations they get lost in the translation. But one of the names of God is actually, I'm going to pronounce it, it's El Shaddai. Blessed be His name. So the word Shaddai, it's spelled Shin Daled Yun, in Hebrew literally means the sufficient, like the one who's sufficient. Dai in Hebrew means enough, and Shem means the one that. So it's the one that has enough. So God is self-sufficient according to the Torah, and obviously He's a merciful God. There's a verse in the Torah that says Rachum v'Chanun. Rachum means merciful. Chanun also merciful. So I hope that clarifies. From the Jewish perspective, there's for sure no problem between these two attributes. God is all-merciful and God is sufficient. And again, why does that not contradict? Because the fact that God can create a creation and put Himself in a situation where He becomes all-merciful, that makes Him sufficient. That makes Him all-sufficient. And in fact, that's one of the reasons the Jewish mystics explain that why God created the creation. In order to reveal His attributes of mercifulness, without the creation God would not be merciful. In order to be all-powerful, without the creation, God, because you need something to compare to. It's hard to say somebody is most powerful if there's nobody else to compare this to. So the mystics explain that this is the reason why God, blessed be He, created the creation, so that His attributes can be revealed within the creation. Thank you for watching.